Yes, good morning to all of you. Suraj Education Group welcomes you. I am Dr. Pankaj and today we are discussing about one of the most important topic of 11th class, that is bacterial cell. This one is the diagram of bacterial cell, and in bacterial cell the outermost structure is known as cell wall, and cell wall is basically made up with peptidoglycan. Cell wall is basically made up with peptidoglycan. Peptidoglycan से बनी हुई होगी सेल वॉल. A polysaccharide, peptidoglycan is a polysaccharide. After that, this one is known as plasma membrane, and the plasma membrane shows some outgrowth. You can see in the diagram that is there are some small outgrowth and there are some large outgrowth. The small outgrowth is known as fimbriae, and what is the number of fimbriae? 300 to 400 per cell. 300 to 400 per cell. The large outgrowth is known as pili, and the number of pili is basically 1 to 5 per cell. So now, what is the function of fimbriae and pili? That is one of the most important question. The function of fimbriae and pili is, fimbriae is basically help in the attachment to any surface of the bacteria. So fimbriae कहाँ help करेगी? Attachment में help करेगी. बैक्टीरिया सरफेस को अटैच करने के लिए, किसी भी बैक्टीरिया को किसी सरफेस से अटैच करने के लिए fimbriae help करेगी. And you can say, simplified, you can say the bacteria is attached to any substratum with the help of fimbriae. Okay, and pili help in the process of conjugation. Pili help in the process of conjugation, because we know very well about that true sexual reproduction is basically absent in case of bacteria. Basically sex duction type is present, not a true type of sexual reproduction. So that is conjugation. It help in the process of conjugation. Pili help in the process of conjugation. Next point, the plasma membrane shows some inner growth. Inner growth भी plasma membrane show करेगी. Inner folding भी some plasma membrane show. This inner folding of plasma membrane, the infolding of plasma membrane in bacteria is known as mesosomes. Mesosomes, and mesosomes is basically two types. That is, this mesosomes is known as central mesosomes, and this mesosomes is known as peripheral mesosomes. What is the difference between central mesosomes and peripheral mesosomes? पेरिफेरल मेसोसोम्स जो पेरिफेरी पर प्रेजेंट होगी, इसमें आपको कुछ रेस्पिरेटरी एंजाइम्स देखने को मिलेंगे. द पेरिफेरल मेसोसोम्स कंटेन्स सम रेस्पिरेटरी एंजाइम्स. सो पेरिफेरल मेसोसोम्स हेल्प इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ रेस्पिरेशन. रेस्पिरेटरी एंजाइम्स में हेल्प करेगी. इट मींस जनरली एक क्वेश्चन पूछा जाता है, which one is known as powerhouse of a cell? That is mitochondria, but we know very well about that membrane bound cell or the leaves are absent in case of prokaryote or in case of bacterial cell. So which one provide ATP to the bacteria? A big question for you. The ATP provide to bacteria, that is peripheral mesosomes, because it contains various respiratory enzymes. Clear? Respiratory enzymes. Next point, this mesosomes is known as central mesosomes. ये central mesosomes होगा through which attachment of nucleoid takes place. Nucleoid means, in case of, always be remember that in case of bacteria or in case of prokaryotic cell, nucleus is basically absent. True nucleus not found. Instead of nucleus there is presence of nucleoid. Instead of nucleus. So this one is the nucleoid, and this contains, nucleoid contains the DNA. DNA contains by nucleoid. Okay. Next point, 70S ribosome is basically present. A non-membrane bound organelle basically present both in prokaryote and in eukaryote, but the big difference between that is, in case of prokaryotes 70S ribosome is basically present, and in case of eukaryotes 80S ribosome is basically present. Okay, so this one is the 70S ribosome. The inside fluid material that is known as cytoplasm. So inner fluid material is known as cytoplasm. Okay, next point, these are basically called storage granules, and the most common form of storage granules in bacteria, that is in the form of PHB. PHB, one of the major important question. PHB for what? That is polyhydroxybutyrate, PHB. In case of some gram negative bacteria, there is also present a tough outermost layer outside the cell wall. So in case of gram negative bacteria, outside the cell wall there is also present a tough protective covering, tough protective layer, and this tough protective covering in some gram negative bacteria, this tough protective covering is known as capsule. This tough protective covering present in some bacteria is known as capsule. इस कैप्सूल के क्या फंक्शन होंगे, इसके साथ साथ पीएचबी के क्या फंक्शन होंगे, पेप्टिडोग्लाइकन की कितनी सब यूनिट्स होती है, इसके साथ साथ और भी सेंट्रल मीजोसोम्स, पेरिफेरल मीजोसोम्स के और क्या फंक्शन होते हैं, इसके साथ साथ हम होपेनोइड्स के बारे में डिस्कस करने वाले हैं। तो आने वाले लेक्चर्स में हम इन सभी के बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे। थैंक यू।